All right, so it's day one of dedicated. April, what is today? Monday, April 11th or something like that. I don't even know what day it is, but it's my first day. I'm studying for step 2 now, and I have a lot of work cut out for me. I have to go through pretty much all the things I've been going through for rotations. I know I take a really important board exam, and for those of you who don't know, step 2 is the second licensing exam for medical students you take at the end of your third year typically. And it really determines kind of now, especially even more since they made step 1, our first board exam pass-fail, it determines what you can even apply for. I've been looking forward to this opportunity since January because I know that I can do a lot of good work here, but I'm definitely nervous because got a lot to cover. The question bank I'm going to go through is UWorld. It's about 4,000 questions, which comes out to about 100 a day because I'm not going to cover some things that I know I'm already decent at. But yeah, it's a pretty stressful time for me right now. I'm going to be working pretty much my butt off, but I'm excited. And hopefully I can show you guys what the study process is going to be like over the next month or so. So let's get it. Alright, so I'm going to start with like a sample template. This was just for neuro and heme. This is just a random day that I picked. At the top is a tag that says not done or done. I finished this day. There's also links to all my documents in Google Drive. And this is a template that actually auto-populates, so it's all set up beforehand. On the left you have my schedule, and on the left column that I'm showing right now you have the predicted time that it's going to take to do things. So I start at 6:30 in the morning. This is the day after a test, so I do the appropriate task, which is from a drop-down task menu. Then I have the time that I actually started, so it helps me keep track as to how things are going, whether I need to make any adjustments, etc. I also have tags for what system, what subjects I'm doing, how I felt the thing went, like whether it was good or bad, or I could do better the next round. And at the bottom I have some space for some notes. So this is a pretty simple template I did for every single day. It just helped me stay organized. I would preload the template the night before, jot down any thoughts, and that way I was able to move into the next day with already a plan, and I didn't have to spend any extra effort in the morning figuring out what I was going to do. I'm not even a big monitor person. Oh. Video. Yeah, we'll pull out. Now. And. I woke up this morning, it's 7 right now, but I woke up at 5:30 thinking about hypothyroidism. So it's Wednesday before my actual test date. Final stretch, only 2 more days and then test day. Crazy. Let's get it. Okay, so I just took step 2, and I think that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life. And I can break it down in a couple ways. Like first, it's the length. It's a 9-hour exam. 8 1-hour blocks, each with 40 questions, and then 1-hour block of just break total that you can spread it out however you want. So I got to the testing center that morning at like 8:30, and they were delayed, so I didn't start until 9:30, and then I got out at like 6:30. It was really, really challenging. I think the things that I really have learned, which I think I would like to tell you guys, is that no matter how hard you prepare for this exam, there's always going to be something that you have not heard of or have never seen. Taking this after step 1, like I learned a little bit about how to stay cool in the moment. All right, so moving on to study tips. Things that I think are really important to keep in mind is that you're not going to have time in your dedicated period to go through multiple resources really. But as a third year, you're supposed to be, hopefully you're doing UWorld throughout the year so you can get through as much as you can of it. If you have time to add on some AMBOSS questions in particular, like in areas that you're particularly weak at, I think that's a great idea. The thing that AMBOSS does that UWorld doesn't is that it kind of presents the same information to you in a different way. And people can think that's harder or not as relevant, but I think it's good to see something presented in multiple ways just so you know what to look out for. Because the USMLEs are really focusing on like weird presentations of very common diseases. Heart attack patient, but they're not going to present with the classic symptoms of heart attack a lot of the times on these exams now. So it's good to know what, like every which way it can look like. And that actually brings me to my next point, which is that Anki is actually really not as useful as it used to be for these newer USMLE exams. And that's because they're changing up their buzzword style of asking questions into not really using buzzwords anymore. Instead, they'll describe kind of the pathophysiology of what the buzzword that you're thinking of actually means. So a good example that I actually made a video on TikTok, von Hippel-Lindau disease, where they have those, cerebellar hemangioblastomas. But they will never call it that. They'll call it vascular tumor in the posterior fossa. Kind of get you to know exactly what they're describing instead of what the term is. And so Anki, this third year, and especially during dedicated, I didn't really find it that useful. I used it a little bit to memorize some charts and some diagnostic criteria, but overall, it's definitely dropped down in its importance, especially for step 2. The other thing that I think everyone needs to keep in mind is that during dedicated, you're not a robot. You are studying 10 to 12 hours a day, but definitely take some time every day to either go to the gym, cook a nice meal for yourself, hang out with some friends, or watch some TV. Like for me, I watched basketball playoffs every night, or I went to the gym three to four times a week. And it was really important for me to keep my human activities, afloat and take care of myself in that sense so that I could get through dedicated. And especially towards the second half, those final 2 weeks, you're going to be pretty tired. So, taking care of yourself in the beginning helps save some of that energy. Because the one thing I did notice about my dedicated is that my first week, I was the most organized. And my Notion template kept me organized towards the end when I didn't have the bandwidth to reorganize myself. So if I didn't have certain things in place, like going to the gym, eating well, and having time to watch the playoffs already built into my schedule, I wouldn't have made time for them later. And so I really think it's a good idea to schedule in time where you're not studying as well. So if I had to summarize the step 2 process, I would say these tests are really like a knowledge application tests and reading comprehension tests. So when you read, questions to them, they're getting longer, they're getting more detail oriented and more information dense. So you got to be good at reading quickly and also efficiently, and also making sure you don't miss relevant details, which is a hard skill to develop, but you have a whole year to develop it as a third year. It's also an application test. So they really want to see whether you understand what you're talking about with the medicine. Why are you going to do this? What's the order in which you're going to treat the patient? What's the most important thing you want to take care of first? A lot of the test is next step in management questions, which admittedly was really hard for me at the beginning of the third year. But as you learn more on rotations and as you study harder and harder, you kind of start to figure it out. But pay attention to those algorithms, really memorize them, but it's really just about trying to learn how to think like a clinician. And that's really the main takeaway I took from third year, and also step 2, like dedicated period, and then the exam, of course. So study hard. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, like I said, but you'll get through it. And now, today, as of making this video, I'm done with the exam. I'm going on vacation soon. I'm going to put out some more content, so definitely stick around for that. If you're interested in more talking points about medicine, some ethical things that I think are really important, study tips, of course, how to get into med school, how to apply to med school, all those things, definitely hit that subscribe button. Follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram. I'm always hosting interesting polls or quizzes or questions. Keep you guys, in tip-top shape for the rapidly changing application cycles. So leave a comment, leave me a like, and then I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.